Good evening, everyone. This is Vibhana Sheen, and I'm doing a reading from the book Messages from the Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss. We are on chapter 6, and today we're going to read part of chapter 6. The title is Feeling Joy and Happiness Every Day Lessons for the Heart. Never lose the courage to take risks. You are immortal. You can never be hurt. Sometimes the lessons learned seem simple or obvious, yet they must be learned by our hearts at the deepest levels, not only by our intellects. Direct experience, often through regressions, can provide an avenue to the heart. Barbara was going through a detailed and deeply felt past life in the American South during the second half of the 19th century. She remembered the large white house where she lived with her mother in the aftermath of the American Civil War and the hardship they endured there. She remembered a happier time from later in that life when she was married, with two young children and living in a different house. I moved her to the last day of that lifetime. I'm old. My hands have spots on them. Brown spots on my hands, and the skin is very soft. Is there anyone around? I asked. My son is with me. My daughter is there. She is by the doorway. She's looking at me. She's sad. I don't want her to be sad. She died, floating above the old body she left behind. How do you feel now? I inquired. Better. I can see them in the room. I can see the woman in the bed, she added, observing her former body. She has white hair, and she's wrinkly. I feel very peaceful. I feel like I'm floating, floating. She was enjoying this peaceful place. Before awakening her, I asked her to take a long look at her daughter and her son, to see if she recognized them as anyone in her present life as Barbara. I got a sense that the daughter is a niece that I have now by the name of Rebecca. It was weird. I feel the connection that the daughter is now her. I reminded Barbara that we often come around again and again with the same people, even though our relationships may change. This is one way we learn here in the physical state. After floating above her withered old body, she was able to review that lifetime, its affluent beginnings, the devastation after the Civil War, and the happy family life that followed. One lesson stood out above the others: to slow down and to appreciate what you have around you, Barbara said emphatically. Once again, although the lesson applies specifically to her, it also applies to all of us. There is so much beauty, so much truth and love around us, but we so rarely slow down enough to notice, to appreciate. Sometimes it takes a tragedy or a great loss to remind us, but quickly we seem to fall back into the same old rut. Slow down and smell the flowers is the modern version of Barbara's lesson. Enjoy the fruits of this beautiful garden. It is not enough that your intellect, your head, understands this. Your heart must also, and your daily thoughts and actions must show that your heart truly knows. Sit or lie comfortably and close your eyes. Take a few relaxing breaths and let all the tightness and discomfort leave your body. Remember those times when your eyes misted with tears of happiness and joy. Perhaps you unselfishly helped another human being. Perhaps somebody unasked and unexpectedly reached out to help you. Perhaps you were reading a book or watching a movie or witnessing a scene where lives were being touched by love. Take your time. Your heart is opening. Whenever your eyes well up with tears of joy, carefully stop and observe. What are you witnessing? Why does this touch you? What is missing in your life? Now you have a strong clue about which modifications are needed to bring more joy, more peace into your life. It is well known that happiness comes from within, an inner state. You will not miraculously become happy if someone else changes or if the outside world changes, but only if you change. You must see with a larger perspective. Someone else may point the way, give you techniques, but that is all others can do. The rest is up to you. It is not wrong, sinful, or unspiritual to be happy and to have fun. You cannot graduate from this school until you learn to be joyful. Mother Teresa wrote, I'm sure that if we all understand the golden rule that God is love and that He has created us for greater things, to love and to be loved, we would then love one another as He has loved each one of us. True love is a giving until it hurts. It is not how much we give, but how much love we put into the giving. Therefore, it is necessary to pray. The fruit of prayer is deepening of faith. The fruit of faith is love. Love in action is service. And so acts of love are acts of peace. And this is the living of the golden rule. Love one another as God loves each one of us. I do not agree that true love is a giving until it hurts because there is too much joy in such giving. Any hurt would be quickly soothed, but the rest is pure wisdom. If everyone were to follow Mother Teresa's simple prescription, violence and war would disappear and peace would reign over the world. At an inner psychological level, people would feel this peace also. Fear and disappear, since love dissolves fear. Without fear, we could accomplish what we came here to accomplish. We would also be happier. The walls we hide behind would evaporate because we would not need to insulate ourselves emotionally if we did not fear. We could open ourselves to the energy of love. I once treated a professional golfer who was overly concerned with his scores. The more anxious he became, the more strokes he lost on the course. During a particularly deep meditation in my office, he left his ego behind and merged with the golf course. He began to understand golf as a metaphor for life. The course throbbed with life, it became animate. What did you learn? I asked him. That the course doesn't care what I score or how I play. It only wants me to enjoy it, to feel its beauty and its gifts. Its greatest wish is to provide pleasure and joy. This man has made remarkable spiritual progress. Not surprisingly, when he gives golf lessons, he gives lessons about life also. His students are doubly benefited, and his scores have dropped significantly. While I was meditating one day, a message came in answer to an unasked question that had been forming in my mind. I was working hard at the office, treating patients with lectures and conferences, with a mountain of correspondence. What about vacations? Reading for pleasure, playing golf without keeping score? Should I take more time for myself, my friends, my family? Enjoy the simple pleasures of life more? Or is the work too important? The message was emphatic in tone. This world is given to you as a beautiful garden. You diminish the garden if you do not enjoy its fruits. Awareness. You should check your vices before you come to this point. If you do not, you carry them over with you to another life. Only we can rid ourselves of the bad habits that we accumulate when we are in a physical state. The masters cannot do that for us. If you choose to fight and not to rid yourself, then you will carry them over into another life. And only then you decide what you are strong enough to master the external problems, then you will no longer have them in your next life. The Jesuit priest and psychologist Tony DeMello tells a story about awakening, about becoming aware that we are asleep in our everyday ruts. A father becomes aware that his son is oversleeping again and will be late for school. He raps repeatedly on his son's door. Wake up! Wake up! You'll be late for school! The father says loudly. I don't want to go to the school. His son answers. Why not? Asks the father. Three reasons. First, because school is so boring. Second, the kids tease me all the time. And third, I hate school. I'm going to give you three reasons why you must go to school. First, because it's your duty. Second, because you're 45 years old. Third, because you are the headmaster. So wake up and climb out of your rut. If you stay asleep, you will grow old, still asleep, and you will miss your life's potential. Live in the present, not the past, not the future. The past is over. Learn from it and let it go. The future is not yet here. Plan for it, but do not worry. Worry only wastes your time and energy. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk Nich Tat Han describes enjoying a good cup of tea. You must be in the present moment, mindful and aware, to enjoy the tea, to savor the sweet aroma, to taste the flavor, to feel the warmth of the cup. If you are ruminating about past events or worrying about future ones, you will look down at your cup and the tea will be gone. You drank it, but you do not remember because you were not aware. Life is like that cup of tea. When you're not experiencing the present, when you are absorbed in the past or worried about the future, you bring great heartache and grief to yourself. A doorway to an expanded awareness may open during the regression experience. If the therapist is ready and flexible, allowing the other person's higher mind to guide the process gently rather than pursuing the therapist's own agenda, a life transforming experience may occur. Such was the case with John. As I hypnotized John, a middle aged and well educated man, before an audience of several hundred people in a Boston workshop, an awareness that the audience had grown unusually quiet, hanging expectantly on every word, seeped into my conscious. Gently and gradually, I nudged him back in time. His first image was of a Christmas party when he was 5 years old. He beamed like childlike pride as he vividly remembered the scene. My hands are here. I can see them. I'm wearing my first suit, grey flannel. He felt very grown up to be wearing that suit. I see the tree filled with lights. I was silent for a while, letting him enjoy his long ago event, experiencing his pride and his happiness. Then I let him farther back before he was born, back in the in utero environment in his mother's womb. Immediately he said, "It's so tight in here, I want to stretch." John began to move his head around, stretching his legs, carefully moving his arms. Then he noticed a sparkling light rippling through the umbilical cord, and the light relaxed him. I took him through his birth, and although he experienced no physical discomfort, he was bothered by all the noise. "So many people are talking," John explained. I instructed him to detach from the scene of his birth, still remaining in a deep hypnotic state. I then asked him to visualize and walk through a special door, expecting him to recover a past life memory. But he did not. His experience was a spiritual one instead. John found himself in a beautiful garden. He described a wondrous, diffuse light that filled the garden, a light that infused him with sense of profound peace. He became aware of children, many children. He related that he was older and a teacher to the children. As he observed a white horse nearby, the word purity flashed into his mind. A solitary shade tree stood on his right. John spoke very slowly and deliberately. Words could not adequately describe the scene unfolding before him. Words could not describe the qualities of the light or of the garden. I could sense that he knew far more than he could share with the rest of us. "What do you teach the children?" I asked. His answer was enigmatic at first. "I teach them how to play," he answered slowly and softly. Then his voice became much firmer, as if we in the audience had become the children and he was now a teacher to us. "We can't be there always," he said. "We can be there always." John's voice trailed off and he was silent. And then he began to speak very quietly, whispering as if he wanted me to hear even more so than the others. "This joy, beauty, awareness, this garden on earth could be there all the time, whenever we choose. It can be there now, in the present, if we choose, if we remembered how." He was silent again as tears of joy quietly rolled down his cheeks. John did not want to leave that place, so I let him rest there. And this is what John taught the children. Paradise on earth is possible if we choose it. John's message is very powerful. We can become conscious of the other reality now, even in our present state, even in physical form. We can feel the pure joy, the ecstasy, the peace, and the beauty even now. And when we pass beyond the physical state, we become aware of the same. We go to the same. We really are the same. Our forgetfulness, our state of being unconscious, is reversible. We do not need to die or have a near death experience to remember, to re experience. Tears continued to flow from John's eye. He realized, as did I, that a shift was happening in his life. A shift from the overly intellectual into the experiential. An opening had occurred and would not close because the experience was so positive and so powerful. John wrote to me 2 weeks later describing synchronous events that affirmed his experience even more. Symbols of gardens were appearing everywhere. He walked into a music store and felt immediately guided to a CD called Secret Garden. He read the description: 14 new Celtic and Norwegian melodies to help you rediscover your own secret garden. Then, when John walked into a bookstore to purchase a particular book, his awareness was drawn to another book, which was Beyond the Garden Gate, with beautiful light filled paintings of gardens and poems. Several days later, he walked into an elevator and he found a poem from the 1st or 2nd century taped to the wall. To all those who love, you are beautiful. They overflow with your presence. They can do nothing but good. There is a space in your garden. All of us are welcome there. All we need to do is enter. John added, everywhere I turn, gardens continue to come into my awareness, reaching the garden through the heart and being in touch with the garden of the soul. During John's experience in Boston, my awareness had also begun to shift. It can be there now in the present if we choose, he had said. We do not have to forget. We can maintain our awareness that we are divine beings who can directly experience joy, love, infinite compassion, profound feelings of safety and peace all right now. Just by witnessing, watching, and sharing, an opening in the awareness of several hundred people in the audience in Boston was also occurring. Feelings of joy, of peace, of safety were everywhere in the room, as if a vapor of higher truth was filling us with the messages that we are immortal and we are always loved. We are love. Love is the energy that fills every atom of our being, and there is nothing to fear. Chapter 7: Love and Compassion. Love is the ultimate answer. Love is not an abstraction, but an actual energy, or spectrum of energies which can create and maintain in your being. Just be loving. You are beginning to touch God within yourself. Feel loving. Express your love. Love dissolves fear. You cannot be afraid when you are feeling love. Since everything is energy and love encompasses all energies, all is love. The majority of us do not live our lives as if we were aware of our spiritual nature. We act as if we are just physical objects with neither souls nor spirit. Otherwise, we would never do the insane things we keep doing. More than 90% of us believe that there is God, that heaven exists, and that we go to another realm when we die. But our behavior belies these beliefs. We treat each other rudely and violently. We still commit genocidal acts and fight incessant wars. We murder and rape. We torture and steal. We continue to behave in very crude and selfish ways. Fear prevents us from recognizing our true spiritual essence. Spiritual beings such as we are should be practicing compassion and charity, not murder and robbery. We have so many fears. If you must think in terms of reward and punishment, consider that you will be abundantly rewarded for thoughts and acts of love and compassion. You will be invariably punished for acts of hatred and violence. Still, we don't seem to understand this. Instead, oftentimes we find the expression of love more frightening. We fear being rejected, being ridiculed, being humiliated, being perceived as weak, being labeled, or being foolish. Yet, even these fears are false. We are always loved and always protected. We are spiritual beings in a vast spiritual sea, populated by innumerable other spiritual beings. Some are in physical form, but most are not. Love is the water of this sea. Love is an energy, the highest and most pure energy. At its highest vibrations, love possesses both wisdom and awareness. It is the energy that unites all beings. Love is an absolute, and it never ends. When physicists in their laboratories measure the energy that healers emit, whether they direct this energy toward patient, bacterial cultures, or elsewhere, I believe these energies are related to the energy of love, which is spiritual energy. Healing energy is a component of spiritual energy. With future research and improved technology, we will better understand this connection. When physicians talk about mind body connection, I believe love is the connecting energy. When religions talk about nature of God, love is always mentioned. This is true for all religions and unites all of us. One characteristic of energy is its vibratory pattern. Gas molecules vibrate more rapidly than molecules of liquids, which in turn vibrate more rapidly than molecules of solid. The molecules may be identical, such as H2O, which is water, but the frequency of molecular vibration determines the state, whether it's solid or liquid or gas. It is not far fetched to imagine that there is only one pure energy, that which we call love. As its vibration is diminished, its state changes. We are the solid form. Two of our main goals during a lifetime are redemption and inner peace. By redemption, I mean freedom. Redemption implies the overcoming of karma through our actions and through grace. There are many paths to redemption. When we are redeemed, we have reclaimed our soul's destiny. Redemption here is not meant in the Christian or religious sense, but rather as the process of enlightenment and liberation from the cycle of physical life and death. Redemption is a gradual process, inexorably leading us to our spiritual home. Once liberated, the soul may choose to return to the physical plane in order to help others along the pathway to redemption. Redemption comes from love, not from suffering. When our hearts overflow with love and our love flows to the others, we are in the process of redemption. We are fulfilling and canceling our karmic debts. We are being drawn back to the bosom of God, who is ultimate love. Achieving inner peace alone is not enough. The monastic or aesthetic experience is a means to an end, not the end itself. Reaching a state of calm while sitting in a cave in Tibet is admirable, but you have only reached first base. To be living in a physical world requires physical actions. To reach out to others in order to relieve their suffering and help them along their path. To be empathetic and compassionate. To help heal the planet, its inhabitants, and its structures. To teach as well as to learn. If you are engaged in this process, you will gain inner peace, even if you haven't a spare moment to spend in a cave. Friends, this brings me to the end of today's reading. We will return tomorrow around 7 p.m. for another Facebook Live from Messages from the Masters, Chapter 7. Till that time, this is Vibhanasheen signing off. Please take care of yourself. Good night.